So I think there are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to what it means to be a man, especially nowadays in 2021. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of leaders out there. Even for myself, like I really don't know exactly what it takes to be a man. Some of these misconceptions, they tend to come to us usually by like our parents. Some of them are by society, and some of them are just kind of mostly, well, to me at least, most of my misconceptions of what it means to be a man came from my peers and interacting with them. So even for me, at being 27 years old, I don't fully understand what it means to actually be a man, especially nowadays, because I was never taught it. Even though I had my father in my life from, I think, middle school. That's when I met my dad, or when I remember meeting my dad. From middle school on, I had him in my life, but I don't know if he ever really taught me how to actually be a man. In terms of like morals, values, things of that nature. I'm just really trying to comprehend and understand what it means to actually be a man. And I can only imagine for the younger generation, if I'm confused about this at 27 years old, what does a 15 or 16-year-old or somebody who's growing up to try to be a man, what are they thinking when it comes to what it means to be a man? So I know what being a man is not in no way an exhaustive list or anything like that. It's just kind of some of my ideas about what a man is not. And then from there, from knowing what a man is not, I try to find what a man actually is, what he should be. And these misconceptions that I'm going to give, they are things that either I've been told directly or have been kind of subliminally suggested to me by other people. We should not have to sacrifice others in order to get to where you want to get to in life. And I think this also includes just having to go low whenever somebody says something about you that you don't like. Like, all because somebody says something doesn't mean that you should insult them or try to clap back at them or whatever it may be. But then again, I know for me, I have also struggled with it, especially with people who talk down on you or try to belittle you or try to make you seem like you are less than. It's I think it's natural to want to get revenge, to want to equal to the level. To me though, what I've realized is that it's really not worth it. It makes you seem like the immature one, the one who is allowing others to control your emotions. It's not something you should really focus on. One of the other misconceptions that I don't know if this was kind of self-imposed or it's imposed by others, but the idea that you need a significant other in order to be considered a man. And don't get me wrong, having a significant other is perfectly fine. If you want to have a significant other, or if you want to have multiple significant others, I think that's perfectly fine. Of course, be safe out there when you're doing that. If that's what you want to do, by all means do it. But the misconception comes in when you think that you need another person in order to be considered a man. Because that idea is just not accurate. You don't need a significant other in order to be considered a man. Just like a woman, they don't need a man to be considered a woman. And I know it sounds really obvious and sounds kind of like a duh moment, but for me, there are people in the world that they need a significant other in order to think that they are completely a person. It's usually those people that constantly scream out, I'm independent, I'm fine on my own, blah, 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 all this other stuff, when those are actually the people that are crying out saying that they need someone. I know for me, for a long time, for about 25, 26 years, I know I definitely thought that I needed someone. For me, I think I fell into that trap kind of early. Like, I want to say around like middle school or elementary school, like the end of elementary. And then going, is it elementary or elementary? I don't know, I'll say elementary. But I thought that I always had to be either talking to a woman or be with a woman in order to be considered a man by other people. And the truth is, you'll still be a man even though you don't actually have a significant other. And people, as well as yourself, like I know I did, they will tell you that you are either not attractive enough, or they will laugh at you, everything they can to feed into your insecurities and make you feel as if you are not a man if you don't have a significant other. Sly way of kind of dissing you. When people ask you, do you have a wife, do you have kids, or anything like that, it's kind of a slick way of saying you're not complete without these things. And think about it, you can't feed into these type of things and lies that are being told to you, especially when it comes from within your family. Because I know for me, a lot of it comes from within my family. I know they mean well, don't get me wrong. It's just that I know that what they're saying is not accurate. And it's hard to ignore. It's hard to make it seem like, what you're doing is okay when everybody else is thinking the opposite. I know for me, I wanted to prove them wrong. Like, I can get women, I can do this. And even to myself, I wanted to prove to myself that, hey, I can get a girl whenever I want, blah, 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 all sort of stuff. And really, it's not about that. It's not about proving anybody wrong. I say just continue trying to build yourself and be able to actually be alone, because honestly, not a lot of people can actually do it. Being able to be alone and not having to have anyone, I'm not gonna say anybody help me, but I don't need I don't need to be with someone. For me though, once I realized this, I found that I'm more happy with myself. My self-confidence went up. I started to like being alone more. I can actually live with myself in my own home instead of having to always go out and chase women and feel unhappy with myself and having to think that I need somebody else to fulfill that void within myself. And don't get me wrong, I do love women and I love being around them. You have to learn to exist without them though. You have to learn to exist without another person. Otherwise, you'll use them kind of as a crutch for yourself. You use them as a crutch for your own happiness, and I don't think you ever truly really would be happy without having to not be with someone. Women were, and I kind of think they still are, my kryptonite, if I'm being really honest with myself. I would do so much and expect so little from them. And nowadays they call that simping. But simping is misunderstood and misconstrued anyways. You can check my video on that if you want. But a lot of women take advantage of it though. And I can't really blame them for it. You know, of course, I did not know while I was in it that I was being taken advantage of. But looking back at it now, I know that I was being taken advantage of and it was what it was. And that's because I was relying on another person in order to make me feel like I was someone or of value. And the thing about it is that I would even continue dealing with women that I knew were not good for me, that I knew weren't trying to contribute anything to the relationship, kind of leeching off of what I was doing. And I would allow it because I was unhappy with myself, and I would let them slide with it and not really love myself like I needed to, because I was relying on them for happiness. The next misconception is that if you don't have a lot of money, then you're not considered a man. And this one I think is a little bit difficult because it's not about having a lot of money, but just being able to take care of yourself, really. So for me, I would see the successful man in high school and I would try to be just like them. I would try to be just as successful as them. Like for me, when I was in high school, the people I would look up to, I wouldn't say look up to, but I would try to emulate them. I would try to copy them, like Chris Brown, Trey Songz, and all these other men that were able to, that had the woman's eye or whatever, had a lot of money, had a lot of women. I would try to emulate them as I was growing up. And I started to realize that I couldn't actually emulate them. Like I couldn't be them. And you shouldn't try to be anyone else. Especially growing up, like you pull from what you know. You pull from things you see. I had to find who I was as an individual before I actually started to become comfortable with who I was. I had to find out who I was and what I wanted to be. And it's way easier said than done. Especially if you're online constantly looking at men who are successful and attractive and have all these women, you know, thirsting after them or whatever it may be. They have this lifestyle, this persona, this whole thing that you want. Like for me, I couldn't imagine if all of this, like social media and all of having access to a phone and all that, I couldn't imagine if that was happening when I was younger, as I was growing up, because even now I still struggle with it. Like seeing successful men, seeing attractive men and seeing them with all these women and seeing the lifestyle that you want, and then having to go against it. To kind of wrap this up though, just try not to emulate anyone. You can have people that you pull from, but don't try to be just like them. You have to find out for yourself who you really are as a man. No one can tell you who you are. I don't think anyone can really show you who you really are. Only you can show yourself who you really are. And like I said, it's way easier said than done, but I think it is critical. If you don't ever find out who you truly are, I think you'll always be trying to look for other people's approval on who you are. And you'll just be constantly trying to emulate others and try to copy others. And again, even at 27 years old, I still struggle with this. And to be honest, I probably will struggle with this for the rest of my life, because it's not something easy to conquer. It really isn't. The next misconception, this kind of goes along with the having a lot of money thing, but that is having to show off. So for myself, thankfully, I haven't ever been the type of person to show off or anything like that. I've never really been attracted to that type of stuff. I'm more of a recluse and I prefer to kind of stay to myself. But for me, I have felt the pull of wanting to show others how successful I am, even my monetary success that I've had. I realized that posting this stuff like on social media and for other people's approval it doesn't do anything for me. For me, I think it's just a trap. And I think that a lot of us young men, we tend to fall into this trap because we see, like I said, we see these successful people and we see them having a good life on social media and being attractive and all this other stuff. And when we see them on TV or whatever it may be, they have everything that we dream of. And we think that all of that same stuff is going to make us happy. It's going to also make us successful and make us seem like we are of value to other people. We think it's going to allow us to be taken seriously by society or whatever it may be. Just kind of some final words to keep in mind, something that I try to live by. Not really live by, but just some final words. Just remember, money means everything whenever you don't have it. And then when you do have it, it means absolutely nothing. With all that being said though, I'll talk to y'all next time.